Hi, my name is Grace Lang with Clark & Lang Consulting. We were employed by Anheuser-Busch to do a market analysis on the U.S. microbrewing industry. As you may well know, the craft brewing industry is on the rise. Just last year, they reported a 13% market share over the previous year of 12%. So as we go through today, we're going to talk about the data methodologies that we used whenever we were looking at this analysis. We'll get into the descriptive statistics that we found, and then we'll conclude with some areas of opportunity and highlights that we found within the data. So just to start, to get an understanding of the marketplace, the craft brewing industry is a $27 billion industry, and it's growing. So one of the things that we wanted to do was look out for potential areas of opportunity for Anheuser-Busch to enter into the market. So starting with the data and the data methodology, we received two different data sets from Anheuser-Busch, the beers and breweries data set. One of the things that we did in the data cleaning process was remove any empty fields that were coming up in those data sets that would inhibit our analysis. So it was a little bit of a shortcoming because we had to remove about 42% of beers from the IBU analysis and 3% of beers for the ABV analysis. The ABV analysis, not super concerning with that amount of data removal, just like a margin of error. However, with the IBU analysis, it is something we would like to revisit if possible. When we reached out to our data source at Anheuser-Busch, we were unable to get any clarification. So if we could just rerun that analysis moving forward, that would be a great next step. First off, we looked at the top and bottom 10 states by number of breweries. As you can see, Colorado comes in at the top with 45 breweries for the state, and West Virginia, the Dakotas, and DC come in at the bottom with only one brewery per state. This is an area of opportunity just for Anheuser-Busch just because of the low saturation of breweries within those states. Next, we looked at the ABV by state. Surprisingly, Maine came up at the top with the median ABV of 6.75. Utah and Arkansas came in at the bottom with around 4% ABV levels. This wasn't super surprising considering Utah has government regulations in place that prohibit them from brewing too much alcohol within their beers. Next, we looked at the most bitter beers by the state. Maine came in at the top with just over 60 median IBUs, and Wisconsin came in at the bottom with under 20. We also wanted to give just a highlight of the top alcohol content beer within our data set, and that was brewed in Boulder, Colorado with a 12.8%. And our most bitter beer was brewed in Astoria, Oregon with an IBU level of 138. And just to put that into perspective, Oregon had its median IBU levels of around 40. So that's 3 times the amount. Next, we looked at the distribution of the ABV data, and what we noticed was that the data that we had skewed towards lower alcohol content. So this was another area of opportunity that we identified for Anheuser-Busch, just as far as entering in with potentially some of those higher alcohol content beers. Finally, we wanted to see if there was a relationship between IBU and ABV. And when we ran a linear regression and a correlation, we did notice there was a significant positive relationship. So as the estimated ABV level increases, the estimated IBU level increases. But what we've highlighted in this graph is an area of opportunity or lower saturation per se, where it's higher alcohol content beers with a lower IBU, so something that's not so bitter. So that's another area that Anheuser-Busch could come into the market as a newbie. And in conclusion, and just to wrap up what we've talked about today, if Anheuser-Busch is looking to open a series of bitter craft beers, Maine, West Virginia, and Florida would be great places to start. If they're looking to enter in on some more of the higher gravity or higher alcohol contents, Maine, Colorado, and Oklahoma would be great areas. And finally, there's a market deficiency with less bitter beers with higher alcohol content. So maybe potentially looking at those lower volume states of the Dakotas, West Virginia, and DC. Thank you for your time, and if you need any additional information, you can find it in our appendix.